Today I want to unpack the secret that the rich know. Whenever I consult business owners, you can see the micromanagers. You can see the ones who just don't trust their own past decisions, their systems, or themselves. As a business owner, we can often see the road, we can often see the trees, we can often see the trail, we can see the scenery of where our business is and where it's going. But how many times have we missed it? My mind goes to this. I'm going to give up something, and when I do, how is it going to hurt me? If we allow our past to hold us prison like a ball and chain in our present, friends, we're never going to achieve our future. The secret is not complicated to understand, but yet it is very difficult to place into practice. And the secret is there is a secret that the rich possess, that they value and they guard, that if you and I as business owners could ever truly understand the power of this key principle, it would change our lives. It would change our business. Have you ever wondered how some business owners can seemingly produce 10x, 20x, 100x more than their competition? I've often been asked, hey, Justin, how in the world do you do all that you do? You know, the reality is we're each given 24 hours in a day. Yet the rich understand a very key point that allows them to accelerate their wealth, that allows them to accelerate their influence, that allows them to accelerate or to shorten the time frame from where they were to where they desire to be. It almost doesn't seem fair. It's so simple. It is so simple, but yet it's so hard, especially for us business owners. You know, we like to be in control. As I've said many times, I know business owners that literally put their hands in the air and they say, as long as I'm driving the bus, as long as I'm in control, I'm good. You know, as we think about this, the secret is not complicated to understand, but yet it is very difficult to place into practice. And the secret is the art of delegation. The art of delegation. Today, I want to talk to you about how we can use the secret of the rich to drive our businesses from where they're at to where we aspire them to be. You know, as we talk through the introduction of this particular podcast, we understand that rich folk will often multiply their capacity. They'll often multiply their influence. How do they do that? Well, in order to delegate, you have to have key or top talent. You have to have the best of the best talent that your business can afford or that you can influence to come work alongside you to your destination. So the first thing you have to look at as we're talking through this idea of delegation is you have to have a competent and a superstar team. I often refer to them as the A team, right? I grew up in the 80s and I remember watching, Mr. T and Murdoch and everybody talking about the A team. I can still hear the intro to that particular sitcom or TV show coming into my head. It's interesting, though, that those players on that team were the best. Were the best of the best. We talk about the dream team. In my book, Your Baby's Ugly, I actually write about the dream team, the basketball team that just dominated the infrastructure at that particular point in time. They were the best of the best. See, if we surround ourselves with top talent, then we can apply directly some of the scripture principles that I personally subscribe to, and that is this. Numbers in the Bible says, delegate. Let other men share. Let other people share the burden so that you won't have to bear it alone. Another principle in Scripture says, and the things that you have learned from me, in other words, it's Paul talking to Timothy and he's saying, hey, look, the things that you've learned from me, the things that I've taught you, the things that you've seen in my own life, the things that you've learned from me, commit them to faithful people who can teach others also. In other words, you've learned from me, go teach others and entrust them to carry it out. Delegation. Delegation is all around us. So what is delegation? What is delegation? The way I describe delegation is to give a particular job or particular task, duty or right or authority to someone else besides you. I love the word authority. It means that somebody has the ability to make change, and they're responsible for the change or the effect of that change. So I like to be able to delegate things. I love to be able to give authority. So today I want to unpack this secret that the rich know. I want to unpack it so that you and I as business owners can deploy this in our business even more so perhaps than we are today. I go back to a lunch many years ago with a client. He said, how in the world are you doing what you're doing? And I'm like, I have an amazing team. I have an amazing team around me. I've surrounded myself with some of the best talent that I can actually identify, and I just trust them. So how can you and I, as business owners, delegate? First of all, we have to understand that delegate means to empower employees, and it's critical for us. Dan Sullivan, I often quote, talks about many things, many principles that he has cited have impacted my life. But one of his principles that I have grabbed onto is this: I must focus with laser intensity. With laser intensity on the thing which utilizes my highest and my best use. What is it that I'm just excellent at? What is it that I'm phenomenal at? What is it that I'm great at? You see, if I can understand who I am, then I can move some things off my plate that maybe I'm not that good at. John Maxwell is quoted as saying, if you want to do a few small things right, do them yourself. That's what he's saying. If you want to do if you want to do a few small things right, do them yourself. But if you want to do great things and make a great impact, learn to delegate. Friends, I don't know about you, but in my business, I want to do amazing things. I mentioned in past episodes, I want 100% of what God has for me. I want it all. So in order for me to accomplish that, I have to surround myself with people that I know, love, and trust, people that have my back, and then give them the things that I'm not good at, give them the things that I can entrust them with, and learn to delegate. Now, when we talk about delegation, we have to understand there are 4 different stages to delegation. 4 stages in delegation. Our goal as business owner is to get to the 4th stage, but many of us are stuck in stage 1 or stage 2, and we never really understand stage 3 or 4. And so through our lens or through our prism, through our vision, we see other business owners that are out and about, and we're like, why in the world are they kicking my tail? My competition's eating my lunch. How in the world is that happening? I submit to you that they have learned the secret of the rich. They have learned that they could delegate certain things and multiply their influence, multiply their impact. So what are the 4 stages of delegation? The first one is that we do everything ourselves. We don't trust anybody. We've all been there. And I find myself more in that particular stage than I desire to be. But that's stage 1, is we just take care of it ourselves. I can do it better than anybody else. I'm just going to do it myself. The second one is delegating, but we're micromanaging. We're going to give somebody the authority, and then we're going to just put our thumb on top of them and ask them and bug them to death, and we're going to micromanage them. And that, candidly, friends, is where so many business owners end up in their growth phase. They end up just stopping right there. That's their maturity level. And I see it often. Whenever I consult business owners, you can see the micromanagers. You can see the ones who just don't trust their own past decisions, their systems, or themselves. Then we go to stage 3, which is true delegation. Hey, we're going to give somebody X, and we're just going to trust them. I find myself more and more there, where at this phase of my career where I'm trying to get to, and this is where the secret of the rich, this is where rich folk end up actually playing in the sandbox, and that is this. They're delegating others to delegate for you. Think about that. It's a play on words. You are giving somebody else the authority to make the decisions you would make by allowing them to give somebody else the authority. But think about that. Delegating others to delegate for you. I got to tell you, I don't play in that sandbox as much as I desire to. And I can't help but wonder to myself, if I had delegated the authority for that individual to delegate the authority to others, where might I be today? You know, if I want everything that God has for me, that's one of the lessons from the rich that I have got to personally deploy more and more and more in my life. There are certain things that I don't have a problem delegating. I'm finding now where I give our team members credit cards. I give my team members the authority to hire and fire people. I'm seeing myself more and more, and I'm trying to move myself in my mind through my years of maturity away from this micromanagement role, which candidly I find myself more than I desire there as well. So the secret of the rich is this. They delegate to others, and they allow them to delegate to others. Dan Sullivan made a simple 3-word quote, and that is this: delegate to elevate. It's so simple. I love the way he breaks things down. If I'm going to elevate myself, if I'm going to elevate my business, if I'm going to elevate my offering, my product, my service, my family, whatever I'm trying to elevate, I've got to delegate. So I've got to delegate to elevate. So in order for me to do this, in order for me to delegate to elevate, I have to focus on a few things. I have to focus on my core responsibilities. Where is my highest and best use? I have to look at specialized expertise. Who within my company can handle this particular task? And will this particular task either allow them to work at their highest and best use, or do I trust them enough for me to give this to them so they can go out and find somebody who they could hire to be the highest and best use of this particular task? That's that delegate to delegate movement there. Another one that happens is time efficiency comes as a part of delegation. Whenever I get things off my plate, I can become so much more productive. I'm not drained down by the things time and time and time again that we often are drained down by. If I can empower my employees, through delegation, it brings my team together, brings the team together so that we're all marching toward the same goal. Many times, though, we don't do that, especially for micromanaging, which I am guilty of too many times. In fact, I'm trying to teach my team to give them the authority to challenge me when I'm micromanaging, because I'm so weak in this area personally. And it's the secret of the rich that I want to master, candidly. If we delegate, it creates diverse input. As a business owner, we can often see the road, we can often see the trees, we can often see the trail, we can see the scenery of where our business is and where it's going. But how many times have we missed it? Man, how many times have we been looking in this particular direction and a team member of ours said, "Hey, watch your six, Cap. Watch your six, Captain," as my youth leader used to say. "Watch your six, Cap. Something behind you, man. You're missing something. Take a break. Look at it." See, when we delegate, we allow a diverse input into our lives. And then when we delegate, we reduce our risk. If you're going to double your net worth every 3 to 4 years, you're going to have to drastically reduce the company's specific risk. And in order to do this, delegation is a powerful tool. It's unbelievable. It removes you, the business owner, from the epicenter of the business. It allows the business to scale through delegation. It creates learning opportunities for your team and for yourself. One of the things I love from delegation is it gives good feedback loops. Man, so many times I filter events through my limited lens. Notice the words I use there, my limited lens. I have vast experience personally in the business world. I have vast experience in the finance world, but it's not as vast as some others. I'm not the most educated. I'm not the most talented. I'm not even the most gifted. I'm just an old country boy born and raised on a dirt road, lives on a dirt road. But one of the things I've learned through delegation is I can get feedback through a different filter, through a different lens. And when that feedback comes, of course, I can accept or reject it as the business owner. But more importantly, that feedback loop, as it begins circulating, I can change. It helps me mature into the person that I aspire to be. It helps my company move in the direction that I want our company to move. And without the art of delegation taking place day in and day out of our business, friends, we miss so many opportunities for growth. There's so many opportunities for us to use this feedback loop within our business. But when we start talking about delegation, I'm not naive. One of the things that happens is anxiety kicks up. We talked in our recent podcast about fear and anxiety. And anxiety, we define fear as a clear and present danger, immediate fear, something right in front of us. And anxiety is what we ponder this circumstance of what could happen, and we work ourselves into a psychological dizzy, and we start making poor decisions. So when we start talking about delegation, immediately, my mind goes to this. I'm going to give up something, and when I do, how is it going to hurt me? I ask an expensive question, as Myron Golden says, how is this going to hurt me? Versus looking at the opportunities ahead of me by moving this off my plate, I dwell and stay in that moment, and then I'd move into this world of micromanagement. Friends, if I'm going to learn the secret of the rich, which I ultimately want to learn, I want to see everything that God can do in and through my life. I'm more passionate about that than ever. Then one of the things I'm going to have to learn is that through delegation, I'm going to have anxiety kick in. And therefore, I'm going to need to focus on bringing that anxiety into subjection. I'm going to have to lock it up and throw away the key, as we mentioned last episode. D. Hawk made a quote, which I thought was powerful. Control is not leadership. Management is not leadership. Leadership is leadership. If you only seek to lead, invest at least 50% of your time in leading yourself. When I read that quote, it set me back on my heels. It's a powerful quote. If I'm going to be the best I can be, then I have to invest 50% of my time into leading myself, which means I got to create capacity. I have to move things off my plate and into somebody else's hands. Anxiety comes because we often don't want to let go of our beloved baby. We don't want to let go of our beloved baby. Another thing that comes is we have issues with our team members. We look at our players on the field, we look at our employees, we look at our entrepreneurs, all of our colleagues, etc., and we really have a problem with them because we don't trust them. Let's be honest. Trust is hard. Stephen Covey made this statement. Trust is the glue of life. It is the most essential ingredient in effective communication, and it's the foundational principle that holds all relationships together. Trust. I'm recording this podcast in the afternoon, and I have no doubt that my wife right now is taking care of my kids. She's out. I know exactly what her day is today. I know her routine. I know exactly what she's doing. And she is living the very life that God has for her. She is so fulfilled. I love watching her day in, day out. And because I know her and because I see her life that she's fulfilling, I see the joy that she has being the mother, being the wife, being the help to me personally, being an encourager within our community, within our church, within amongst our friends. As I watch that, it builds a trust up. We've been together 22 years now almost. And I trust her with my life. Literally. I mean, she's literally on the power of attorneys, right? I trust her with my life. The reason why so many of us don't delegate is we just don't trust our team. So I have to ask the question, do we have the wrong players on the field? Do we need to change our team? Or is it truly an internal issue? Are we holding on to some past pain and allowing past pains influence our present situation? Because if we allow our past to hold us prison like a ball and chain in our present, friends, we're never going to achieve our future. So I have to ask the question, why don't we trust our team? Maybe an anxiety comes because we're concerned as business owners about a decreased quality. You know, for many of us, we're founders. For many of us, our name is our business. I have seen business owners shut the doors of their company as opposed to let an employee or another person buy their name because they're scared about the quality and their reputation. Tony Blair made a statement that I heard years ago, and he said, the art of leadership is saying no, not saying yes. It's very easy to say yes. The art of leadership is saying no. So when we start thinking about decreased quality in our business, what we have to do is say, no, that's not going to happen because I trust my team, I trust my systems, I trust my processes. Maybe you don't trust your team, your systems, and processes because you never invested your time or mental capacity into those because you've been too busy micromanaging or not allowing delegation through your systems or through your company. And as such, your company is floundering. And now you're sitting back, as I mentioned in the introduction, saying, how in the world can that person over there do what they're doing within the same amount of time? I mean, are they superhuman or something? No, they simply have learned the secret of the rich. There's a simple strategy called delegation. And through delegation, we build it like a muscle, like you're exercising your muscle. You build it and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So we have apprehension. We're anxious, if you will. There's anxiety that comes from whenever we as business owners think about delegating. But You realize there's also consequences for not delegating? There's consequences for not delegating in your business, in your life, in your circumstances. Yesterday, I gave Emily a list. Yesterday, I gave the kids a list. Yesterday, Emily gave me a list. We do it. It's reciprocal both ways. I'm not like the dictator of my family. If anything, whenever I leave this podcast studio, I have a lot of bosses. I was laughing with one of my team members. I'm like, I have a lot of wives, was what my wife called it. We were talking to somebody, and they're like, Justin, how in the world are you able to accomplish what you're able to accomplish? And Emily was sitting beside me, and she started laughing. She goes, because he has a lot of wives. Now, what she meant by that is not that I'm married to a lot of women. It is that there are many women in my life that I deeply trust, that have full control to push me and pull me to where they need me to be because they understand my vision. And they're working diligently to help me carry out my vision. So there's some consequences that when we don't delegate, one of them is a personal impact. David Allen said, you can do anything, but not everything. I got to tell you, the older I get in business, the longer I've been doing this, the more frustrated I can quickly become if I don't check myself in the inefficiencies and the inabilities of others. Employees, team members, clients, the world, community, vendors, whatever it is, it's like, what in the world are you doing? I could do this in my sleep better than you can do it. In fact, I probably have said that many times. So here's the problem. If we don't delegate, we're going to be burnt out. We're going to burn out. You're going to find yourself to where you are pulled in every different direction. And then whenever you get into a burnout mode, you lose your personal efficiency. You were created for greatness. I was created for greatness. God has an amazing plan for each of our lives. He wants us to excel far beyond our wildest dreams. He wants us to live a limitless life. Well, the reality is that we, through our own ineptitude, through our own lack of trust, through our own faith, through our own circumstances, through our own choices, through the choice of not delegating, create a burnout capability where we take on more work than we should, and then we push ourselves into personal inefficiencies, and then we come to hate the very thing which we once were extremely passionate about, all because we don't delegate properly. Not only does the lack of delegation impact you and me as a business owner, but it also impacts our team. Have you ever thought about how yours and my control issues rubs off on the team? I've seen companies where they have this, I didn't think about it, therefore I'm not going to do it. Or, well, they thought about that and therefore I don't have to do it because they're going to handle it. It was an every person's an island syndrome versus a team syndrome. I've seen some superstar athletes in my days, and I know you have too. And they're the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, they're out there. It is them and no one else matters. And many times that team doesn't win championships. It's whenever the team works together and collaborates together and lifts each other up and takes the I and turns it to we, or takes the I and turns it to me, that creates a unbelievable movement. You see, a leader's lasting value is measured by succession. John Maxwell. If you were to walk out the door today, could your team continue to drive your passion forward? If you're not delegating, then chances are no. And so now you're going to have employees who are frustrated, employees who are demotivated or feel undervalued. They're going to have the feeling of micromanagement. And I've said it with enough business owners. I've said, again, with thousands of business owners in my career. I've probably talked to tens if not hundreds of thousands of business owners over the last 30 years. And I know that's not our heart. I know that's not who we are as a business owner community. I really believe that you and I as business owners drive the economic engine of our world, not just our cities. I really believe that we are responsible for influencing the direction of the world. That's how I believe. And if we're not utilizing our team, if we're in this micromanagement or with this lack of delegation, then you and I are not building a business that is operating at its peak performance. Let's talk about that. Your business is going to suffer because of your lack of delegation. It's going to stifle your growth. You're going to have missed opportunities. How many times How much money have you or I missed because we were too busy taking on all the problems of our business versus delegating? See, the secret of the rich is this. I want to teach others, empower them so they can operate the company toward my vision, and then they can delegate. I want to delegate. I want to teach my delegators how to delegate to others. Teach them so they can teach others also. It's a biblical principle. It's from the scriptures. It's not rocket science. And if I can do that, friends, then all of my visions, all of my aspirations have a greater possibility of becoming true. And so I don't lose the missed opportunities of my business. I don't reduce my efficiencies of my business. I don't operate from a centralized ivory tower control mechanism. How much money, Lord only knows how much money, how much wealth, how much prestige, how many of your goals have I missed because I refuse to delegate? So how do we improve? How do you and I, as business owners who operate these crazy businesses, who go nonstop, how do we improve our lives so that we can delegate to delegators and so that we can push our companies to the vision that we have deep within us, that we also speak about, that we aspire to be? How do we delegate? Peter Drucker, he's a great author. If you ever read him, his books, phenomenal author. He wrote, "Do what you do best and delegate the rest." I've actually walked around the house singing that to my kids. Do what you do best and delegate the rest. And please don't turn that into some gif. I know my team, they're going to take that and that's going to be some gif and I'm going to see myself out there dancing to like a flamingo in the background or something. But, that's what Peter Drucker's saying. What he's saying is like, look at your activities every single day. Write down the actions that drain you and demotivate you. I literally have clients do this. Whenever I see an issue of delegation, I'm open and vulnerable about my own self and how I work on myself. And what I do is at the end of the day, I think back on my day. My team now sees me do this. They actually chuckle about my life as I'm letting them see my thought processes. I write down at the end of the day what drained me, what I didn't like, what I need to get off my plate so that I can operate within my zone of genius, so that I can operate at my highest and best use. Friends, it's not hard to do. So I challenge you. If you want to improve your delegation skills today, at the end of this day, before you put your head on the pillow, before maybe family dinner, and whenever you're ready to sign off from the workload, just take a moment, think back on your day and find one thing that you didn't enjoy doing that day. Whatever it is, write it down. And I promise you, if you do that for about 90 days or so, maybe 180 days, you're going to have a list like this. I mean, it is going to be a long list. I bet you can hire somebody or maybe take those tasks or those things which drain you and you'll be able to send them out to other players on the team which get energized. Just this week. I kid you not, just this week, we're getting ready to go on our speaking tour. I speak nationally. I'm looking forward to this year's speaking events. There's several that I'll be speaking at across the Southeast and out on the West Coast. And we're updating some of our reels, some of our sizzle reels is what it's called. And so we need to find videographers, photographers in each of these locations. Now, that is a very draining position for me. Let me tell you why. I'm extremely introverted. I'd rather sit on the computer, reach out to somebody through a click or send an email. But that didn't have the time to wait for people to respond to me. So I grabbed one of our colleagues and I said, hey, this is what we need to do. And then I literally listened to her on the phone for half a day. And she was energized talking to these potential vendors about their services and how they could utilize our service and what we needed. She was having the time of her life. And I'm over there going, I would never do that within 1,000 years. That was an activity years ago that I wrote down a list. Whenever phone calls need to be made to people that I don't know or to strangers, get somebody who loves to do it and give it over to them. Tell them what to do and then let them do it. So the first thing is we need to start looking for opportunities to which we can delegate. That's number one. Pretty simple, okay? The second thing we need to do is we need to make sure the people in our lives near and around us are the right players for us. We need an A-team around us. Early in my days, I hired the opposite of me. And my wife is the opposite of me. So I hired somebody who was opposite of me in personality. And then as I moved, I didn't hire many more people like me. Why? Opposites attract, right? The two people of a kind end up having some polarity issues, and my business is too focused to have conflict in direction or vision. I don't need another visionary. I don't need another Justin. He or she and I would be at odds nonstop. So you got to build your team, friends. I challenge you. Ronald Reagan said this: surround yourself with great people, delegate authority, then get out of their way. Could it be that you don't have the right people around you? I submit to you, it probably is. I submit to you, it's probably a little bit of each of these. You say, well, Justin, I can't find people. Friends, I've learned something. If you pay enough money, you get the right people. If you pay enough money, you get the right people. You can find the right people. There is good people everywhere. We often talk about the employment crunch. What we want to pay somebody as little as possible and expect for them to be everything we want them to be. It's not going to happen. If you surround yourself with great people, they're going to be expensive. That's okay. They're going to be so worth it. Get out of their way. Delegate the authority and get out of the way. And stand back and do what you're good at. Provide clear instructions. I could sit here today. So many times I fail. I fail so many times in this because my brain is operating at 1,000 miles an hour. Most of us as business owners, as we are working in our business, we are spinning so many plates in our head. And whenever we look to a team member, we give them an instruction and we think we communicated properly, but we never communicated. We didn't have a changing of ideas and understandings. Instead, we communicate in blurbs. In fact, just today, I had the conversation with one of our team members. She's like, what am I supposed to do with this particular statement? I'm like, don't worry about it. Put it on the list, and we're going to come back to it. Just I should have told you how way I think. I'm letting you see into my mind. Grab that statement, write on the list, and whenever we do our deep dive, we're going to go through that and what exactly that means. So I submit to you that the reason perhaps you don't delegate is not your team's fault, but your fault and my fault. The reasons why we don't delegate is because we're not clear enough in our instructions. We're not clear enough in our instructions. Scriptures say that death and life are in the power of the tongue. Our little tongue in our mouths, it gives us so much power. It actually creates death in the employee-employee relationship or life. So just maybe, the reason why you feel at odds with your team is not them. Go back to the old fingers, point a finger at somebody, you got 4 coming back at you. More than likely, it's you and your lack of clarity in your instructions. Thomas Leonard said, clarity affords focus. Clarity affords focus. So let me give you some action steps here. Action steps for you today as a business owner. Remember, at this particular phase of my life, I want to do a number of things for you. Number one is I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you in the fact that learning to delegate, learning the secret of the rich is not hard. You can do it. If I can get better and better at this every day, friends, so can you. When I talk about myself many times, it's not to brag about Justin Goodbread and who he is. I'm here to say, like I said, you're more talented than I am. You're probably smarter than I am. You're probably better looking than I am. There are so many things that I'm ill-equipped with. I'm simply saying, if I can do this, you can do this. So I want to be self-aware personally. And the second thing is I want to cast a crystal clear vision. I want every person I come in contact with to know exactly where I'm headed. You see, the more I say that, the more I say, here's where I'm going to be, is doing a lot of different things. I'm creating accountability amongst others. I'm sharing my vision so that they can turn around and delegate to others. But more importantly, I'm speaking in the affirmative. I'm speaking words of affirmation. Words are like little seeds. They're going to flourish at some point. I'm speaking words of affirmation in my life about where I'm headed. So cast the vision, friends. Cast the vision of what's in your heart. Cast the vision of your company, of your desires, of your ethos, of your core values. Get it out there. Don't be ashamed of it. So long I've been ashamed of what I truly believe, and it's like, no more. I'm going to be who I'm going to be. Share your vision. Share your passion with others. So much so that whenever you delegate, those who you delegate with will understand exactly how you think exactly where you're going, and you'll trust them whenever they delegate to others. And finally, we need accountability. Each of us need accountability. I read an interesting statistic. It surprised me. I did some research from the International Coach Federation. The International Coach Federation made this statistics, and they had their research, and we'll put it inside our blog, Financially Simple, with this particular podcast. But they made this statement: business owners who engage a coach see up to 50 to 70% increase in productivity and decision-making efficiencies. And why is that? Why is it whenever I hire a coach, I see greater movement, I see a return on my investment, I see up to 50 to 70% increases in my productivity? Why is that? Simple. We reap a harvest where we place an emphasis. If we're going to spend money on a coach and we let them truly into our world, let them see where we're going to be, the coach's job is to hold us accountable to that destination. And because we are now placing an emphasis on the destination, we can't help but reap a harvest. It's a simple law. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. Whatever a man sows, that shall he also reap. If I go out and put corn in the ground, I'm not going to get okra. I'm going to get corn. And then one kernel of corn is going to give me a lot of kernels of corn. The same thing is true whenever we sow into our lives. Whenever we bring a business coach alongside or an accountability partner alongside us, that accountability partner will allow us to magnify, to produce, to go further than we ever thought was possible in a shorter amount of time frame than we ever thought was possible. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself saying, how in the world do they do it? How are they growing their business so fast? How is their wealth doing what it's doing? I see them driving nice cars, new homes. How are they doing that? I'm in the same business. Or why is it that business owner isn't as stressed out as I am? It's the secret of the rich. It's the secret of the rich. The secret of the rich understand that if I'm self-aware in my person, if I know who I am and I can relate that to others, if I can cast my vision, and if I can have someone hold me accountable to that vision and delegate the things that I'm not good at, then friends, I can be used for my highest and best use. I can pour my energy into the very thing which God has designed me for. I often make the statement that God is preparing us for what He's prepared us for. Friends, I submit to you, unless you learn to delegate, unless you learn the secret of the rich, it's going to be very difficult for you to achieve everything that God has for you. Till next time, friends, y'all go out and make it a great day.